In 1938 and 39, as German persecution of Jewish people escalated, some 100 boys and girls, aged 4 to 16 years old, who were living in Germany and Austria, were sent by their families to Belgium to live in refugee homes. Then on May 10, 1940, when the Nazis invaded Holland, Belgium, and France, it was the director of the girls' refugee home, Miss Alexander Frank, who organized 2 freight cars of a refugee train and helped the children escape to unoccupied southern France. In September 2000, those survivors gathered in Toulouse for a reunion.
This is the 4th reunion of the children of Laï, and we are delighted that so many of you could come. At 10:30 on Sunday morning, there will be the unveiling of the new monument to the children of Laï at Laï. A very, very interesting monument, and there will be a ceremony organized by the villagers of Laï. You're going to have an experience you never had in the 1940s. You're going to have aperitif in the park in front of the Château of Laï, courtesy of the village of Montigny and the mayor of Montigny. We'll drive to Le Vernet at 4 o'clock, and we will have a gathering in Le Vernet, primarily at the train station where there is a monument, a very sad monument, namely a freight car of the type in which our fellow citizens were deported in 1942.
I am Inge Schragenheim, now Nowakowska. Inge, yeah? Inge. I live in London. I'm a widow now, unfortunately having no children, but that's besides the point. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all, but I would like to mention as well, at the same time, let us not forget Eugen Lehrer, who really saved quite a few lives as well, and who had no time to write, unfortunately, a book, because he was there from the beginning of the time. Most of our educators came later, and not at the beginning. It was completely different in the beginning to a few years later. I'd just like to point this out. Thank you.
Left La Hille in November 1943 with Inge together, and with the help of Annemarie, Piquet, and Eugen Lehrer, we left and we went to the resistance fighter in Champagnol, and I went over the mountains. Inge came later, and I was in various prisons and camps, and in 1947 I lived in Zurich until 1953, and then I moved to the United States. I went to evening school and I met my husband, and we lived in New York for 30 years, and then we moved to Florida in 1982. I just want to quickly relate some greetings which I received, phone calls from Hille Reunion from Argentina, from Paul Schlesinger in Canada, from Adi Nussbaum in New York, in St. Louis, United States, and Lexi in Massachusetts.
Which you know, and after Vernet, a group of us decided we tried to escape across the Pyrenees, and we succeeded. And I'm the sister of Egon Vogelstam. I'm sorry, Egon Berlin, whose history I'm sure you have heard. And I brought my daughter Esther and 2 friends from Koblenz. We have gone to school together since we were 10 years old. And when they heard that we have a reunion here, they wanted to come and see the places that we experienced throughout life.
La sœur d'Irène, là, c'est ma jumelle. Et je suis très très contente de revoir tout le monde. Irène et moi, nous sommes arrivés à La Hille en juillet 42. En août 42, en pensant qu'on arrivait dans un pays de liberté, dans un endroit sans problème, parce qu'on venait de Paris, on a porté l'étoile, hein, on est en France depuis qu'on a 3 ans, nous deux, on est arrivé à La Hille en se disant qu'on va pouvoir vivre normalement. Le lendemain du jour où nous sommes arrivés, le château a été encerclé par la police française, et la suite, bon, tout le monde la connaît.
J'ai vécu à Paris et maintenant je suis retraité à Cannes.
This take him because he was a fantastic boy. He was. Voilà ce qu'il faut.
Louise Haute, la directrice, et Hille Reunion. Annelise.
Marie.
Oui.
Ça c'est Monsieur Kegi
Kegi.
et Madame Kegi. Ça c'est la noce.
C'est ça,
Ils sont mariés.
c'est la noce.
Et le chauffeur, c'est...
Non, je viens le rendre.
I think it was my bed. Here it is, Abby.
Ah, yeah.
Do you recognize it?
Sure. That's Lottie.
Yeah, yes. In Belgium, your father, in Belgium, it was in Belgium, and this was this house.
And this is the man that brought them.
In this house, Alex Frank and Elka, his wife.
Walter Strauss.
This is my sister and
Yeah.
Egon Berlin died on, she was just.
Madame Barbier, French friends, citizens of Toulouse, it is a great honor, unparalleled honor for us, the survivors of the Enfants de la Île, to be received this morning so in such friendly fashion by the government of the city of Toulouse and to begin our reunion here in this very attractive spot. We will never forget neither our Swiss generous protectors who had their office a few blocks from here in Rue de Tour and who were with us at Laïque and who took care of us, who liberated us from the internment at Le Bernay, and who, in many cases, saved our friends' lives. I am speaking especially of Monsieur Dubois and of Kristallnacht, who were our leaders and responsible persons at that time. And I am also speaking of Anne-Marie Imhoff-Piguet, who by herself, was responsible for personally saving a number of our comrades by leading them across the border into Switzerland illegally, as well as Sebastian Steiger, who came to France to teach us, to be with us, and who, both of whom are with us here this morning. We honor you and we remember you. We're eternally grateful to you. We are coming back here for the reunion from 7 different countries in order to come together, in order to remember our youth and the places of our youth. We're coming back also to render homage to those of our comrades who have died, who were victims of the Nazis, and especially Igor Berlin, who fell in combat along with several of our comrades who were there in the battle with the French militia and the Germans. We're also coming back, Madame Barbier, in order to render homage to France and to the citizens of that time who helped us and who helped the fact that 90 of the 100 children of Laïque were able to survive the war because of them. The fact that we are here this morning, invited by you and your government, gives proof to the idea that the forces of good will always triumph over the forces of evil. And I ended by saying, we are saying to you 1,000 thanks and long live France.
Mon ami et collègue Germain, qui devait aussi être présent, a eu lui un empêchement de dernière minute et il m'a aussi demandé de nous exposer ses regrets et ses excuses. C'est un honneur pour nous et un très grand plaisir de vous recevoir ici dans notre commune. Ici à Toulouse, c'est le cœur de la ville. Vous êtes ici chez vous parce qu'en fait c'est...
Madame Barbier is the representative of the government of Toulouse, and is welcoming us here very, very warmly. She says, you are here in the region of hospitality and of gastronomy of the south of France, and it is very appropriate that we who are children who were saved are coming back here to express to the world that in spite of all the trials and tribulations that took place during the time when we were here unwillingly and really unalterably, that there were people who had the courage to take care of us. And she is very, very happy that we have come back, and she hopes that we're going to have a very pleasant stay. She's welcoming us in behalf of the city of Toulouse to this area, and she hopes we will have a very pleasant stay. She also has told me privately, but didn't tell you in French, that her family, in the days of the war, took part in helping to protect and save refugee children. I think we owe her, for her remarks, a very, very warm round of applause.
Madame Barbier has said to me that in the name of the city of Toulouse, she presents this medallion to all the children of Laï, and in order to properly recognize and appreciate it, I'm going to pass it among you. En France, à standard, le Château de Laï. Now I would like to call on Monsieur Sébastien Steiger. Monsieur Steiger va présenter quelque chose à Madame Barbier.
Et on oublie souvent de parler, je ne sais pas qui était le responsable de l'archevêché de la région de Toulouse, mais on oublie souvent de citer que beaucoup de nous, moi personnellement, ma soeur, beaucoup d'autres de nos amis, ont été cachés dans des couvents ici, y compris les garçons. Et ces gens-là, ces quelques gens-là, on les remercie, on ne pourra jamais cesser de les remercier, parce qu'ils nous ont rien annoncé. Voilà.
In the fall of 1940, the Lahi children were placed under the care of an agency of the Swiss Red Cross. The first home for the 100 children was a barn in Serres, a remote hamlet near Toulouse. Here they spent the very rough winter of 1940, living in primitive conditions. Then, in the spring, they were moved to the Château Lahi, an old abandoned castle close to the Pyrenees Mountains near Foix. The older boys and camp staff moved in first and were there to dig wells and latrines and run electricity through the castle to make it fit for the children.
Mais elle m'a dit, oui, et un jour, on est rentré tard de l'école d'avoir fait. On s'est dépêché et la plaque en bois, elle tenait pas très bien. Moi, je suis tombée dedans.
Wir haben uns gesehen 1993. Wann war das? 93.
Ça, c'est moi en 44 ici. Oui, j'ai changé, je sais.
Ça, c'est moi, Marie, hein. C'est moi.
Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis, c'est avec un grand plaisir, mais aussi beaucoup d'émotion, que je vous accueille en ce lieu chargé d'histoire. Montaigut, terre d'accueil, Montaigut, symbole du respect des différences et de la défense des droits de l'homme. C'est ainsi que notre commune peut être présentée.
Montaigut, a land of welcome. Montaigut, a symbol standing for the respect of differences and the defense of human rights. It is perhaps in this way that our commune should be presented. First of all, during the years 1940 to 1944, this chateau became a place of refuge for a group of children who were the victims of anti-Semitism. Then, a few decades later, in 1986, it became a center to help people through work. Finally, in 1991, a sculpture was placed here dedicated to the world prisoners of conscience. The occasion which today reunites a number of these children, some of the teachers and others who cared for them, is the next step after a first meeting which was organized in 1993 by Mr. Frank, unfortunately no longer amongst us. This intensely emotional reunion in 1993 allowed the former students to see each other again and to share memories with the people of Montaigut with whom they had lived through those days of the war. It had taken around 50 years before the drama experienced by these children could be told, written into memory, as though the story, which has remained so deeply buried within each person, could only have been passed on very recently. So imbued with pain has it been. Allow me now to devote a solemn moment to all those who did not survive those dark days and to all those who have since left us. Issy Valeries, one of the children, launched the idea for this memorial in 1997, the year when, for the first time, he came back to this place and this part of his life which has stood out so strongly in his mind. In 1999, the idea was further developed by the request of the Association of the Former Prisoners of the Camp at Verny-d'Ariège, and has therefore resulted in a joint project between the two groups. The memorial inscription has been written by Jacques Roth, another of the children who lived at the Château de l'Aïe. The rock standing in front of you symbolizes the happy days spent at the Château de l'Aïe, particularly the joys of swimming at the Pas del Roc. It also symbolizes simplicity and authenticity in order to celebrate the victory of humanity over barbarity. Humanity, of course, in the action of the Swiss Red Cross, and of all the people, the leaders of the group, the teachers, and the staff, who joined the Red Cross under the framework of Swiss help to children. Humanity also in the action of the people of Montaigut and their neighbors who surrounded the children with their kindness. Barbarity is the atrocious genocide suffered by human beings under the only grounds of belonging to a different race. A genocide which is unfortunately still continued in other countries against other ethnic groups. Never again has often been said and heard, and in order that this barbarity should not be forgotten, the younger generations have to be made aware of this period of history. For this, I thank the teachers of the Educational Association for the work they have done and are doing with their children. Beyond the importance it has for the former children of the Château de l'Aïe and for the people who lived through those days, This memorial passes on a message of humanity, a message of
d'humanité, un message de fraternité, un message de tolérance.
Voilà. Donc, un matin de novembre 1989, un homme aux cheveux blancs a planté un arbre sur une colline au lieu aux portes de Jérusalem, où 6 millions de disparus ont pour unique sépulture les registres où sont inscrits leurs noms. L'homme est Maurice Dubois. L'arbre porte son nom. Il grandira dans cette forêt des justes des nations, veillé par ces noms qui n'ont d'autre moyen de dire leur reconnaissance à ceux qui ont veillé sur leurs enfants que de les accueillir parmi eux et de leur offrir une part de ce sanctuaire de la mémoire qui leur est dédié.
During the darkest days of the 20th century, to 100 young Jewish children, refugees from Germany, running away from terror and racial hatred, which, in successive waves, spread over Holland, Belgium, and a large part of France. They arrived at the castle in 1941 and lived there, surrounded with the local people's kindness and in the care and attention of a few young Swiss people belonging to the organization of Swiss Help to Children, Maurice and Eleonore Dubois, Rosalie Naff, Hogan Lehrer, and Emma Ott.
J'ai taillé des colliers sur mon pupitre et les arbres, sur le sable, sur la neige, j'écris ton nom.
Sur toutes les pages lues, sur toutes les pages blanches, pierre, sang, papier ou cendre, j'écris ton nom. Sur les images dorées, sur les arbres des guerriers, sur la cendre des rois, j'écris ton nom.
Il n'arrive pas tous à la fin du voyage, ceux qui sont revenus leur petit qu'ils essaient d'oublier et de mettre à leur âge, les veines de leur bras sont devenues si belles. Les Allemands étaient du haut des miradors, la lune se faisait comme un coucou léger. Regarde au loin, regarde au loin, ton chien est grand, un chien policier.
In the summer of 1941, 20 of the younger children were able to escape the United States with the help of a Quaker group called the American Friends Service. But then, life became increasingly dangerous for those at Hille. By the summer of 1942, the Nazis had tightened their control of the region and ordered the French to round up Jews. In August, French police under Nazi orders suddenly arrived at Hille and arrested 40 teenage boys and girls. They were imprisoned at La Vernay internment camp, which was the first step to places like Auschwitz. Some weeks later, all the Jewish internees at La Vernay were to be loaded on freight cars and deported to the extermination camps of Poland. The Swiss director of Hille, Mademoiselle Rosalie Neff, tried unsuccessfully to get her children released. She then appealed to her superior in Toulouse, Monsieur Maurice Dubois, who went to Vichy and demanded an interview with the Vichy Interior Minister and Chief of Police. After Mr. Dubois threatened to close all Swiss Red Cross camps in France, the Chief of Police gave the order to free the 40 teenagers, and they returned to Hille. They were the only La Vernay prisoners who escaped deportation.
This seems like the appropriate place for us to stop and reflect. And the Talmud teaches us that if you destroy a person, you destroy an entire world, and if you save a person, you have saved an entire world. In a moment, we're going to say the Kaddish prayer. Prayer which never mentions death. It says that it's as if we people on earth are the translator of God's goodness into human acts. And when a person dies, God's ability to translate goodness into reality is diminished. So, when we say the Kaddish, we in essence are saying, may God fill the vacuum which has been created in His world. And as we stand in this place, it is really a holy spot, and it is a place in which we remember those who perished and the vacuum that was left by their absence. So together I would ask you to recite with me, Yit Kadal, Yit Kadash, Yimei Rabbah, Yalmad, Yidrach, Yifei, Yamut, Matutei, Chayihun, V'yometon, All Brit Yisrael, Amen. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mubarak V'Olam Yomei Omayah. Yiparach V'Yishtabach V'Yipa'ar V'Yitamah V'Yisnasei. Yitalah V'Yitalel Shmei L'Kudashah V'Yikur. Yehei Yisrama Rabba Mishmaya Amen. Onu V'Yalkol Yisrael V'Yir. Amen. Yiseh Shalom V'Yomar Yiseh Shalom Alenu V'Yalkol Yisrael V'Yir. Amen.
Shalom, Yaseh Shalom.
I mean, that's the whole reason for coming. We lived upstairs here.
Tout ça, ce sont des jeunes qui étaient ici chez nous. Monsieur de Capelle. Monsieur de Capelle est le patron du Château et le fils going to have the ceremony of unveiling the plaque, the memorial plaque, that the mayor of Serres, Monsieur de la Tude, has graciously agreed to put there in our memory and in our gratitude to the family de Capelle who own this whole property and who were our hosts when we were here. When that's done, we're invited by Monsieur de Capelle, the owner of the Château and of the property, to come to the Château. And as I said in French, when we were here as kids, it was forbidden to go on the ground, so you wouldn't despoil it and ruin it. This time we are invited to come and see it, because you're now older and more responsible.
You hope.
J'aurais aimé pouvoir partager ce moment du dévoilement de la plaque commémorative de la terrible souffrance faite par la barbarie nazie aux enfants juifs étrangers accueillis à Serres le 22 mai 1940. Le réveil de ce souvenir est chargé d'émotions. Il nous faut chaque jour de l'attention, de la force, du courage pour combattre tous les germes d'intolérance, de fanatisme, de haine, de xénophobie. Cette plaque rappelle la persécution de ces jeunes victimes et honore les femmes et les hommes de Serres, particulièrement la famille de Capelle de Poule, qui ont su leur porter amour et protection. Je salue, Monsieur le maire, votre initiative en faveur du devoir de mémoire. Dès maintenant, les enfants de Serres
It's strange to be here without you, Dad.
sur cette plaque.
I wonder what you would have felt here.
Cœur et leur esprit, afin
What memories would come back.
pour toujours la paix et la concorde.
Et tous les habitants de Serres et des environs, on est très émouvant. C'est un jour très émouvant pour nous, et de voir tout ça avec nos yeux, que ça a vraiment existé, ce qu'on a pensé, et que encore aujourd'hui on peut être ici grâce à des gens qui nous ont aidés. Et je m'excuse parce que je ne suis pas habituée de parler le français. Et puis, je ne sais pas si j'ai encore un accent tunisien.
All of you are speaking a beautiful French, but maybe there is one or two who are not speaking French. So I just address them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great pleasure, but also with a deep emotion, that I would like to welcome all of you today in Serres, and mainly Mr. Reed, who had the great idea to organize this day devoted to remembrance. I was living in Serres in 1941, at the time you were here. I was 5 years.
In the old days, we would have mobbed the bread truck.
I was a 5 years old child, and I used to cross all of you every day in our big main street. It took me several years to realize who you were and what sort of horrible life you were facing at that time. So young, abandoned, without your darling parents' tenderness, full of fear, without knowing what could be your life the day after. Not long after the end of the war, some of you came back to Serres. and visited my father. It was always a great pleasure for him. He told me one day that while visiting Israel, he went to a kibbutz. He entered a house where a man was making beautiful wood handicraft. The owner of the house was fluent in French. My father was surprised to note a very small touch of Toulouse accent.
Ja, dat Leo Grossman.
Grossman, Leo
Leo Grossman, ja. Nu wat
After 5 minutes,
Leo Grossman.
my father discovered that he was talking with one of you or one of your friends having lived in Serre during the war. I know that after you stay in Serre, you went to La Hire. Then the luckiest of your group reached the States, a country of freedom, after a long trip through Spain. With the entire population of Serre, and especially with our mayor, Mr. de la Tude, and its council, I would like to tell you how happy we are today to see you again. God bless you and keep you safe.
Thank you.
Merci. Look where we're having lunch.
Okay, but
Maybe.
All right. Go.
Sa mère, this is his mother cave. Mon cher fils Egon. That was no, that I was not buried up there. I don't think so.
That's his mother put this plate on. You can read it in French, you can read it. Mon cher fils Egon.
Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamiromim, Ametzei Menuna Urufa Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Zemalot Kedoshim, Utehorim, Gezohar Arakia Masirim, Et Nishmat, Egan Ben Shmuel, Shlomo, Egan Ben Shlomo, Shalach Leolamo, בגן עדן דהי מנוחתו, ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר, ונהפך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, ינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
God Abba, der Mond in Gott, die uns sehen, die am Licht lassen sehen. Der freie Gott, der mit Freund, der jede Gott gegen Israel. Aga lo, bis man verlieb, bimenu, Amen.
Amen. Yeshmei Rabba Mubarak, Le'olam Amen, Omaya.
Yiskorach, Yisnabach, Yiskorach, Yisroman, Yiskorach, Yisnabach.
Mademoiselle Neff then urged the older children to scatter and hide. She and several of the Swiss Red Cross teachers working at Lehi, such as Anne-Marie Puget and Eugene Lira, helped smuggle the older children to safety across the Swiss border. The frontier was heavily patrolled by Nazis and Vichy troops, and the Swiss typically turned back those 16 or older. Some of the teenagers attempted to flee across the Pyrenees on foot, and some of them, like Egon Berlin, joined the French underground resistance, the Maquis. Others were betrayed by their mountain guide and turned over to the Gestapo. One girl escaped custody by jumping out of a bathroom window. Many escape attempts were made, and some were successful and dramatic, but others were turned back by the Swiss or caught and deported to Auschwitz.
Mesdames, Messieurs, chers amis, au nom des anciens de la première compagnie FTPF de l'Ariège, devenue par la suite la 3101e compagnie FFI FTPF, j'ai le plaisir de vous adresser la bienvenue en ce haut lieu de la résistance armée ariégeoise. J'excuse Jean Sadnac, notre ancien commandant de compagnie, retenu auprès de son épouse qui vient de subir une intervention chirurgicale. Nos camarades Belcoste Roger, alias Ardan, Duplex Georges, alias Targent, Reyes Secondo, alias Coco, pour raison de santé. Il y a...
Allez, tous les trois, mettez-vous.
Non, non, ça va, laisse-le, laisse-le.
Et toi aussi, Rudi, tu étais ici.
J'ai déjà fait ça 3 fois.
La dame, elle n'est pas grande. Elle n'est pas grande.
We are going to ask Joe Dordert, one of our lay companions and one of the Maquisards who was here when the battle took place, to say a few words of explanation of what it was all about, what took place, and what he remembers. He was part of the battle, part of the Maquisards. He was here. Joe, please.
A company of FTPF, which was the military arm of the the communist French resistance. About 80 men, we were in some farmhouses down there. And we moved in about in the middle of June 1944. And we got busy immediately, making life difficult for Germans and their friends. Naturally, they came to attack us eventually on the 6th of July. And this is mainly for the second platoon of our company, who was really sacrificed here to allow the rest of the company to continue the battle later on for the liberation. Well, here we were attacked, and that's where we died. It took all day of fighting, but this is sort of a symbol of the resistance in the areas. I must say, the wounded here, they're finished off by the milice, by these French people. And that's the story. They were well armed with mortars and machine guns. We weren't so well armed. We had the English submachine gun. which couldn't really reach that far. So our best weapon were hand grenades, which we managed to defend ourselves. At the end of the day, one of the groups managed to get to the top there. They killed one of their officers, which discouraged them, and they went home in the evening. Not that day, but we got our revenge later. We did well in the end. Actually, our mission was to wait for the 15th of August when the Americans landed in the south of France. We were told to keep the Germans from joining their friends in Normandy. And we took probably 3,000 prisoners. That's a couple of hundred of us. Must say the Germans were a bit demoralized by then, but we still had to fight. So our mission was accomplished, really. Our mission was to survive.
And we won the war.
We won the war, yeah.
Oui. Ça marche pas autant de ski. C'est tout.
I would like to thank everybody who made this reunion possible. It was a very moving experience for me. And thank you very, very much for your efforts and for your presence. I'll never forget. Au revoir.
Elle veut remercier à tous qui ont fait l'organisation de cette journée, qui l'ont organisée, qui ont invité les gens. Et elle veut vous dire que c'est une journée très émouvante pour elle et pour sa fille. Elle ne va jamais oublier et elle vous remercie à tous pour l'organiser et pour participer. Vive la France!
Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom.
By the end of the war, many of the older children had escaped to Switzerland or Spain, and the younger ones had survived by hiding in France. It is remarkable that of the 100 children, 90 survived. About 10 were caught and deported to Auschwitz, and of these 10, only 1 survived. There have been 3 Hille reunions in the past 15 years, but this was the largest by far, and probably the last.